Nope, not.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Except it jumped back to my husband's name. Hang
Oh,
on.
sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were getting ready to tell me about your rainy weekend and your two group
Yeah.
kiddos.
This weekend was so the rain started just when I was supposed to start the class. Then the lights went out. So the lights were out for about 3 to 4 hours. Then I was just so stranded and frustrated, and I didn't know what to do because I had just that day to get it done. And oh, but it came out. It came out well
Yeah.
eventually. I
I
guess.
wouldn't have known I wouldn't have known the background. Were you stranded with the kids with the lights off, or that was before they showed up?
No, so I had those two kids come in before the lights went out, and just when we're about starting, the lights just decided to go. So that was what happened.
Oh, oh my goodness. Well, way to endure. You got it done.
Yeah.
Let me grab my notes real fast. Okay, so I got your reflection
Yeah.
and I've read it, but I haven't finished that section on the evaluation. So I'll do that when we're done,
All
and
right.
then that will be turned in for you.
Sure.
So you'll probably, a lot of this will repeat on the evaluation because it kind of asks me the same things that we talk about in a meeting anyway. So,
Okay.
but I always like to go over what I love first. I really liked the lesson plan because it was very easy for me to see your goals, your objectives, what your expectations were. So it was very measurable. Simple is not bad. It's very easy for you as a teacher to know exactly what activities are going to meet those objectives. I think that's great. If you muddle it up with a lot of extra things, it can sometimes be hard to see what you're actually trying to gather from those kids. You know, do I want to know whether a number is greater than or less than, or am I trying to figure out whether they can um, compare numbers, but that wasn't what you were doing. While you had some of that going on, it wasn't part of your objectives, which I think is great. I like the use of the emotions charts. I think that that's a great way to like check in with them. So you're kind of meeting some of those emotional, mental health needs. Um, I was curious what your thoughts would be if a student came back and said, well, I'm angry or I'm sad at that point in your lesson. How
Yeah.
do you respond?
So maybe I would ask why, or yes, I think I would ask why, what's happening, why you sad, what happened, or something, or try to maybe have the child aside probably after or something, just to find out. Maybe he or she wouldn't be open to the idea of sharing it what with the classmates around. So probably after the class, you can just ask what went wrong, why you sad, or
Perfect. Yeah, I think so. I was thinking, shoot, I love that idea, but what happens when you get that unexpected bomb dropped on you
yes, I
and someone's like, well, I want to talk right now.
guess.
So, I mean, they're little. It's probably a simple fix. So, I think that's a good plan. Um, I like the use of the classroom norms. It sounds like it's really valuable for even for these two to just have set expectations, and you had to kind of keep going over it with them. So I think you did a nice job of putting it in layman's terms for them
Yeah.
and not just reading it off, but giving them some examples and reminding them of what that looked like. Um, with your little one that was kind of struggling to still follow those, you could maybe add on role play if you needed, like, hey, let's look at this board again. And this part talks about giving me good attention. If I am, playing with toys the whole time, am I giving you you go be the teacher now. And
Yeah.
let's see if, I don't know, to try if just repeating it isn't helping.
Yeah.
I always think, come up with another plan. How else can I get this information across?
Mhm.
And to be honest, when I did my student teaching, I had small groups because I'm special ed. I think I was allowed to do it with neighborhood kids, to be honest, if I'm remembering correctly. Like they allowed anything.
Mhm.
And my kids were very good. So I had to kind of create situations where I could explain, here's what I would do if there was ever a problem.
Yeah.
So potentially the same thing for you. If you have really well behaved kids, you can kind of create those situations to help meet those standards. Cause we understand lots of kids are just well behaved, but it's always good to kind of pretend or to discuss like, hey, if this was going on. So I think you do a nice job of that. They look really well behaved. I can't hear a lot of what they're saying. And I actually can't hear a lot of what you're saying. And I think it's the mask. So I need some more annotations.
All right. Sure.
So a little bit more detail. And I was going to say, start putting where you think you're meeting that standard and why, like why do you think you're meeting standard 1? Because at the very end, you're going to have to do all 8 within the video. I guess we allow you to do it on the side. I'm trying to remember, but if I can't hear you, that would really help me to have that extra information listed there. But that was for a later point. I liked your simple, quick counters where you grabbed some pencils really fast. And the reason I like this is because I feel like you're showing them you can use anything to count and support as a visual. If you're doing some sort of math, if you're at home and you're trying to cook, you can quickly grab, I don't know, toothpicks if you need to just see like, what am I talking about here? And so I just love that pencils is something that everybody's going to have in their house. And so they're able to generalize and say, hey, I could do this at home, versus if you pulled out really exciting manipulatives that the school had purchased or, so I think it's good. I know you use the teddy bear counters, but I think it's great that they can see, hey, I can use pencils too. So that was just a thought I had noticed. It feels like it connects it to the real world of, I can, if I had to, I could use products at a grocery store. If I needed to figure out what 3 + 2 was, I could grab 3 of anything and 2 of anything. And there we go. We would have some counters. So I just like that it wasn't a big deal. It was very quick. Okay. I like the reading out of the objectives. I had wondered if it might be a little bit over an age appropriate level. Meaning, did they connect to the purpose of it? Did they understand what you were asking? And then why am I reading this? And I was trying to think, well, how could this get connected a little bit more to their age? And I wondered if you could have, if you intend to continue reading objectives, if you could have a, like a box labeled still learning, or, maybe it might be different in your reflection or in your evaluation, the words I use, but basically a box that like, this is what we're working on. And then we will read these objectives together and we'll decide, have we learned this? And then we get to move it to the yay, we did it box, something like that, where it's really tangible to understand, like, we're reading these objectives because this is what I'm doing in class. And I know that today I'm learning it, but tomorrow I've learned it. Something like that, where they can maybe process the purpose behind reading it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think it does. I get it. So it's
because
all right, you
go ahead.
You go on.
I was just going to say, I think when they're so little, anytime you speak aloud to them, it could just, go straight over their head. Yeah. And you won't really know if you're not seeking a goal from that. So reading the objectives may or may not be necessary, but if you want to do it, I would connect it a bit more where they get to understand this is the box of things we're going to learn this year. And every time we learn it, we're going to move it to this other box, showing that we've mastered it. We understand it. We get to high five each other because we've finished it. That may link it a little bit better.
Okay.
But again, if you don't want to continue reading the objectives, it's not part of your lesson plan. It's not something that they're expected to do. So, you don't really need it as part of your lesson, I guess, right? I don't think it was. You want to know whether they can actually determine greater than, less than. You don't need to determine whether they understand the objective. So it's kind of an extra.
Okay.
Do you feel that same way, maybe?
Yeah, I get you.
But I like it. And it could be a great thing you include in your class because it includes them in their learning. But then you got to look and say, is this age appropriate? And you might just need to add some fun things to that concept. I don't think it's a bad thing to do at all, but I would bring it down to kindergarten level.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, the board work up front was great because they got to go up. About how many turns do you feel they needed before you felt they understood the concept? I know it's on video and you don't show it all.
So I made them go about 3 times each.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured.
Yeah, but I realized one student was still struggling with it, because she is much younger, so I totally understood. So I realized she was still struggling with it. This was the first time having her in my class, so I was still trying to get her to understand stuff. That's why I had to stop with the quiz and then move on to
a separate. Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, okay, that explains that, because I was just going to suggest, if you feel like they're not getting it when it's in like what is it when you write 2D, it's not touchable, move to manipulatives and go crazy. Give her this big pile compared to a very small pile, so that visually she can see this is much bigger, because kids know big when they can see a big cookie from a little tiny piece of candy or something like that.
All right.
Kind of give her a real easy way to differentiate. And then you could say, okay, now that we know what we're doing, we do that where you're just giving it to her. You're making it super easy, or you hope, right? Once you've made it super easy, then go back and maybe put the 5 next to the 3, because it is very hard for them to see it like we do.
Yeah.
We can instantly see more from less, but when they're learning it, they probably need a really different example.
Sure.
But I like that was your backup plan, because I think on a board, especially at this age, they don't read most likely, or they don't read proficiently. So looking at things that are drawn, it could just, I don't know what the brain is at like kindergarten, but I know my son who's 4, like that when no, we attempted to count yesterday and he would say what number he thought it was and he was nowhere near that number. So I'm like, all right. But if he was given objects that he moved over every time, it's a different story. So anytime you feel like it's over their head, add something they can touch. And I think that helps.
Sure.
Okay. So along those lines, I think that you could still step back a little bit from a teacher position and become a facilitator, which is our goal. We want our children to kind of lead their education or students, sorry. And I think one of the ways you could have done this would have been to tell her, hey, can you put a big pile of red bears over here? You choose however many you want. And then you put and I'll put a pile of green or something, just so that you can make sure it's a smaller amount. Okay. Or you can say, all right, put a big pile over here and put a green pile over here. So instead of you counting out what the problem is going to be, she's making the problem and then she's solving the problem by deciding which one's bigger. So that would be one way you could step out again.
All right.
Or I have down that you could have them draw what number from a hat or from a bucket. And if it says 5, okay, give me 5 red bears. And then she gets to draw again and it's 3 or something, just to give them the opportunity to be in control.
Sure.
I was going to say, if you'll run back and look at your filming angles before you get going, make sure you're in it because it kind of cuts you off.
Okay.
And then make sure I can see things you're doing on the board. And it's okay if you come peek at the camera every now and then, just to make sure it still fits what you're doing. It's not a big deal. And you could cut that out if you don't want it in there, but just double check that it's showing what you're doing.
All right.
And I like to see your face, but you have a really cute outfit. I do love that.
Thank you.
Very professional and trendy. Okay. This is just like a vocabulary thing. In your lesson plan, you use the word revision. We are going to do a revision of material from the previous lesson. And I think you're wanting to use the word review. And so review means you're looking at something. Revision means you're changing it. So if you are actually revising your stuff from last time, then it works. But I think you're meaning review in the ways that I saw it. So double check before you submit it.
Sure.
And just make sure. I just happened to notice that. And it could be, between different countries and language, but just letting you know, revision for us means you're changing it.
Okay.
Review or going over, that would apply more if you meant you were just going over old material.
Okay, sure.
And then, so I think that was all my notes. So really, I thought it went really well. I think you're very natural, very loving and warm with the kids. You look like you've been in a classroom for the whole time. And you said you were raised this way. So it does make sense that you have this excitement and this passion and you're up and, you just look like you're going to slip right in. So I'm being nitpicky here. But with that being said, remember that this is your first evaluation. So it's going to be a very judgmental evaluation so that you have room to grow. Because I can't from the bat say, hey, this was all perfect, or else we wouldn't need to work together. Yeah. So just know that, and know that it just goes up from here, because and you're really good with suggestions and change, and you have lots of fun ideas. So I expect nothing less. It'll be great. Do you have any questions or anything coming up this week that you're needing to brainstorm?
Well, for this week, I just have a presentation on Saturday, but I think what I wanted to ask you actually answered already. I was going to ask about the student who was constantly distracted, because at a point I felt just the reminders were now getting too much.
Yeah.
Yes, I was trying to figure out a way to actually get her to focus and not have
Was this the younger one?
Yes.
So do you think she understood, or was she confused? Because sometimes when they feel like they don't understand, they turn off and they do wild and crazy instead.
Okay. So when I had the one-on-one time with her, I realized she was understanding stuff, because when I had that time with her where she had to pick and count herself, I realized now she could actually count and then show me where things were supposed to go. But I don't know. Okay, so I actually had a conversation with her parents before the class, and her mom told me she actually has a hard time focusing on things if she doesn't want to. Like, when it comes to playing, she wants to be on her own and play, but when she's not in the mood to, she just switches off. So
Okay, I have a couple thoughts. I use them with my own kids at home, but I think it's applicable. So one of the things we do is a first this, then that idea. So you would say, hey, first we're going to do 2 of these problems. Then we're going to take a break and throw the balls around. So you give her that reward that's coming, but you first, work before play. Okay. So you could try that, because a lot of kids just want to know the schedule. And that would be the other thing, is when they come in, you can talk about everything you're going to do in that, 30-minute session. Okay. You're going to be held to it. So don't jump around on them, because they're going to be little bossy pants if you, it's just the age they are. Yeah. But when they can see what the plan is, it can change them. It's very interesting. So you could do that. What was my other thought? Oh, we do a star chart with our kids for lots of behaviors we're trying to correct. So basically, have you looked into, I feel like in another module, you guys probably talked about positive reinforcement, but it also might be coming in this module a little bit more. Okay. But basically, it's the idea that you're trying to catch them being good, and you're going to be overly excited about it and quick to see it at the beginning. So, you're sitting in your chair. Good job. You're going to get a sticker. I mean, you're going to feel sick to yourself, because you're like, everyone should just sit in their chair. Why am I praising you? But the goal is that you're trying to see her connect. Hey, when I'm good, I get a star. Then I fill up this chart and I get a prize. So that's the idea. So at the beginning, you're heavily rewarding anything good. Hey, good job answering the question. Good job sitting down. You can do it for both kids. Everybody should be positively rewarded. All right. And then the goal is to fill up this chart, maybe just 5 stars. It doesn't need to be much, because right away you want them to receive this award quickly, so that they understand this relationship you're going to have. I'm going to praise you. You're going to get a prize. We're going to get our work done while we're doing it. It's a win-win.
All right.
But then as she gets more focused or she goes along with it a little better, you can spread out the praising. You can then make it more stars to get to a reward. You can stretch what you're expecting of her, but for a while, it's probably going to be pretty rapid, you know?
Okay.
So those are just some thoughts for behavior management. And the goal, in my opinion, is to always look for the more positive things instead of waiting to, like you said, redirect, because at that point you've kind of already lost them.
Okay.
So your goal would be to keep them excited about what they're doing before that. And you can do that with the reinforcement. You could even do like a classroom reward if you wanted at first. So everybody's sitting nicely in their chair. Like I have this little jar and I'm going to put a cotton ball in it. And when it's full of cotton balls, we take a brain break, something like that. Like you don't necessarily have to change your prize or your reward. You're going to do a brain break no matter what. But when they know it's a prize, it changes things. So
Right.
yeah. And you can Google positive reinforcement, lots of ideas probably for the kindergarten level that I'm not even, touching on, but hopefully a few of those might work.
Okay.
And then I think when in doubt, have them, like if you notice that one-on-one time was helpful, see if you can get started on that, even if it just means coming up to help in the front, just involve her a little bit more.
All right.
So what do you guys present on this week?
It's the standards. So I'm presenting on standard 3.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So you just finished it. Then it's always really timely. I like that because then people explain it in their own words. And I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. Yeah. Awesome. Do you like presenting, or are you intimidated by it?
I wouldn't say I love presenting, but
you're not losing sleep over it.
Yes, I guess so.
Oh, all right. Well, speaking of losing sleep, it's getting late for you. So okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that goes well for you.
Yeah.
I assume I'm pulling up my calendar. I assume we're on for next week then.
Okay.
Do you have a video for next week? Maybe not.
I don't think we do.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you want to just I'll put it in my calendar as like a placeholder. And so if you email me Wednesday and say, hey, can we actually meet? I'll have it still in there. Okay. But if I don't hear from you on Wednesday, it may not be available anymore. We really don't go do anything, but other than me going to bed early, which is so early. I understand it's 6 p.m., but when you have 4 kids, you just want to escape as soon as you can. Okay, so I will send you this link in just a minute, and I will finish up that evaluation and submit it. And I think that's it for this week then.
Okay. Then let me just stop the recording.
Okay. Oh, you're recording. I don't need to send it to you.
Yeah.